This next gentleman was raised on a farm in the Lehigh Valley and always loved visiting and living in cities. The Washington, D.C. Zoo when he was a kid, special affinity for the sea lions racing around the concrete pond, decades of walking and bicycling in Manhattan because his grandmother lived on East 68th Street, partying in Boston and Miami when he worked at nearby newspapers, absorbing life in Paris for 2 years as a student decades ago, and 3 months this past spring in Lucca, Italy, or Lucca, Italy, learning its Bella Vita. Extra page, printer fail. It's Bella Figura in Portland for the past quarter century. His friend Polly says, I've known Peter since 1988, when he was giving landscape design workshops in the adult ed component of Mecca, where I was director of continuing studies. What I've learned of Peter since that time, as our relationship has evolved, is that he has not only an enormous zest for life, but that he acts from his convictions. Ladies and gentlemen, J. Peter Monro.
That was an unduly kind introduction. No preamble. Looking at people crossing the Brooklyn Bridge, you might consider designing for walking as though your life, the life of your city, and of the planet itself depend on it. I think they do. That's why I've just launched a blog, designforwalking.com, based on my landscape architectural practice and years of research. Walking in cities is particularly critical for 2 reasons. Number 1, for the first time ever, more than half of all humans live in cities. And number 2, because cities are only livable if they attract us outside. To design for global impact, design for walking in cities. Next, you'll see the walls of the city of Lucca, a poster child for walkable cities where I spent this past spring. People can walk 4 kilometers around the city on top of these walls. Few cars are allowed inside. At 90,000 people, Lucca is slightly larger, more populous than Portland. It's the 3rd largest city in Tuscany, actually. Lucca's people-friendly reputation is deserved because nearly all of Lucca's streets are fully shared public ways. They're complete streets. People, bicycles, scooters, and cars mix, no sidewalks, and few signs. Few signs leads to uncertainty. Uncertainty leads to slow driving. And you have to walk your bike, too. Very slow driving if 2 buses try to pass each other on this major street, which was right in front of my apartment. In fact, they have to go so slowly that in the 3 months I was there, no one was hurt in a traffic accident in the city, inside the walls. 2 people fell, but nobody was, and a scooter hit a car, but no injuries. Car-free piazzas are safe enough for children. These gigantic games were left out all day. About 90% of all people we see in cities are strolling, lingering, or playing in open spaces. These spaces and these people are the lifeblood of cities. However, even Lucca wasn't always people-friendly. Until 1990, the ancient moats outside these walls were gravel-filled parking lots. City leaders courageously made them car-free greenbelt, and since then, all kinds of things have happened. This is a triathlon held above the walls and below the walls when I was there. Resilient cities and a sustainable planet will require minimal pollution and lower energy use. Driving a car uses more energy and causes more pollution than 100 people walking the same distance. In other words, any distance you walk saves 99% of the energy and pollution you would use driving. Think about it. Another advantage of walking is place-based community. Face-to-face means foot-to-foot. Community building includes programming as well as physical design. And events like this farmers market and our First Friday spell economic development for the city as well. Walking is also the only mode of transportation and recreation that improves health for every age group. Regular walking lowers the risk of obesity and diabetes, heart attacks and strokes, even rheumatism and Alzheimer's. We urban residents can change our surroundings, even in a fully built city like Portland, in favor of people. A month ago, Portland Trails converted a parking stall for a day on Commercial Street into a fully inhabitable space with Wi-Fi. During Global Parking Day, 160 other cities participated, and there were more than a half dozen spots in Portland. Next year, there'll be more. This can be done permanently, as Paris has shown, by removing the side streets along the Champs-Élysées and turning them into open sidewalks. Most of the parking is underground now, and this has become one of the most popular promenades in the world as a result. Build it poorly, and they will not come. This mall, designed specifically for walkers, is no field of dreams. It runs between two busy streets in downtown Dallas, but it lacks sun, lacks seats, and lacks direct access to adjacent stores. It's going to be rebuilt next year, hopefully with people more in mind. Good starting points for people are indeed sun, seating, food, and activities. Here's part of the recently made car-free part of Times Square, where thousands of people come out almost every day of the year. This was Columbus Day a couple years ago. Meanwhile, London is using congestion fees to minimize cars downtown and then filling the liberated spaces with bike lanes and more than 500 docking stations for 8,000 rental bikes. The result, London has become greener and cleaner with more people on the street enjoying themselves more. And I personally benefited from this. I can speak to that. The other Portland in Oregon has used attractive transit to reduce cars downtown. For 35 years, light rail throughout the downtown has been free and has matched up with a fine mesh of bus transportation. Unfortunately, they've just begun charging for light rail. The freed up car lanes throughout that Portland are now filled with rain gardens, bike lanes, pedestrian ways, outdoor cafeteria seating, spaces that are resilient, people-friendly, diverse, and green. How important is walking to cities anyway? Is a walkway worth $100 million a mile? The High Line was an elevated railroad in Manhattan, here passing through an old meatpacking building that cost $250 million to convert into a raised walkway. Yep, that's it, it's a walkway. It justifies its cost by attracting over 2 million people per year and generating $2 billion in nearby development. In Sweden, meanwhile, the heart of a resilient regional plan to connect Stockholm to nearby cities through a new campus is a green artery. It pulses with life. Walkers, cyclists, transit, and students. The lifeblood of a place and a region, a path. So, for path-making tips and news, I urge you to go to designforwalking.com. There are business cards out in the entryway, and leave your comments. Go there to join the growing global conversation about making the planet more walkable, that is to say, more livable. Thank you.
J. Peter Monro, thank you.